Hey guys, Professor Flanagan down here at Mr. Beerys. We're going to do a quick beer review for you. Today we have the Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Stout. This beer comes from Lexington Brewery, out of Kentucky, of course. They have 4 staple beers. Right now we're running a promotion. Anytime you buy a beer of their brand, you get put into a drawing to win a case of each of their beers. That's the Bourbon Barrel Stout, the regular Bourbon Barrel Ale, the Pumpkin Bourbon Barrel, and then their IPA. So you can win 24 times 4, whatever that is. We're doing the Stout today. This Stout is aged in bourbon barrels, and it is brewed with Italian coffee in it. It's an Imperial Stout base. The style originating from a similar vein as IPAs, you know, a beer that needs to make a long journey, in this instance to Russia instead of India, and that's where it got the Russian Imperial Stout name. The very high alcohol and the darker malts in there, it's also a higher bitterness because you've got to balance that out. It helps preserve it and makes it age well, makes it last a long voyage overseas and so forth. So let's give this guy a try. There's definitely a prevalent coffee in the nose. Yeah, it's definitely coffee, and those darker burnt malts are coming through more than the sweetness that you expect in a lot of the thicker Imperial Stouts. That's a very smooth Imperial Stout, very smooth. You can't taste the alcohol. The coffee is definitely on the back end of the flavor, and the bourbon encompasses the entire experience. There's chocolate notes, definitely nuts in there. What I really like though is it has a good sweetness and good body, but it's not overwhelming. A lot of times you'll get a Russian Imperial Stout and it'll be very thick and syrupy almost. This one actually is very palatable. It has room for tasting instead of being thick and cloying. It's a very lovely beer. We're seeing a lot of bourbon barrels aged kind of beers coming out in the market because bourbon barrels can only be used once. If you're making bourbon, you can only use a barrel once instead of reusing it for multiple batches. So there's a vast amount of bourbon barrels available on the market just to be used for whatever else. So we're seeing a lot of beers made that way. Anyway, this one is fantastically done. It's really delicious, and you should come down to Mr. Beerys and try it and get thrown into our a little drawing over here to win 4 cases of beer. So cheers from Mr. Flanagan down here at Beerys.